Is it quiet over there as well?
Well, I moved from London to my parents 2 weeks ago. So it's pretty quiet over here, and you can go for a dog walk for an hour a day and not really see a lot of people. But London was just chaos, even before lockdown.
Different perspective, speaking of the air. And there's a girl in the mirror and a woman on my shoulder. Back in a minute and she's 5 years older. So I embody these elements.
Could you tell me a little bit how it was for you to release an album in this crazy, strange times?
I guess I felt two different things. One was like, there was a lot of sadness that you spent so many years working on something, and the fact that I'm not able to perform it or go and do lots of press and travel around the countries is scary, because that's a whole part of releasing. But then on the other hand, so many people are listening to music and streaming music, and it's actually a chance for people to stop and sit down and take in the record in a different way, because obviously all of our lives have been turned upside down. So I've been trying to think of the positives about the release, so that I don't go insane. But but yeah, it's bizarre times. Yeah.
So how was the release for you? Were you like waiting with the Spotify stats at midnight, or reading the DMs on Instagram, or what were you doing at that moment when it was digital, like out there?
Yeah, I tend not to like go and look at the stats, because I guess I get the joy from like little texts of friends saying that they love the record, stuff like that. I opened a bottle of champagne that I had in my bedroom from my 21st. It was still in my parents' bedroom. Well, no, in my bedroom at my parents'. And so we all drank some champagne and just had a really nice meal and listened to the record in the kitchen from front to back.
We've heard a lot from you, like when you released the debut album in 2016, and you've played like Coachella and all those festivals. I saw you at Motel Mozaïek in Rotterdam, I believe, way back then. All those festivals in Europe, Far East, you were everywhere. And then I was looking for you on like Instagram, I believe, a couple of years ago, when your last message there was like, I need some time off, and then you were gone. That was how it felt for me as a fan. Could you explain a little bit for me how that period was, and when you decided to take a step back maybe? Or
yeah, I guess because I came into this at quite a young age, I was effectively touring between the ages of like 18 and 19. And so after the first record, I think I was just exhausted from touring, and I wasn't very well mentally, and so I had to take some time off. And at that point, I wasn't well enough to be able to write or do the things that make me really happy. And so that felt more important, to be able to get well. Mm-hmm. And then the secondary thing was then to get back into being creative.
What was the point when you started thinking like of making music again?
I'm such like a confident, loud, like creative person. And for me to be such a quiet, insular person who's struggling, that was very difficult to go through that period. And then it got to the point where like I was walking past a music shop, and this must have been like nearly a year in to the time off. And I just bought some equipment, and I was like, I feel ready to do the first thing and plug the keyboard in and the mic and just see what happens. So that was just like I felt like I had to be brave even if I didn't feel like it. And that was kind of like the first step to like getting back into writing and producing.
What is the message, or was the first thing that made you realize this is what the album is gonna sound like?
I guess there's a few things. There was definitely like so many new things that were happening in my life over the past few years. So there was never a shortage of things to write about, and a lot of new experiences, like a first major breakup, moving to a different city, understanding myself more as an adult and as a woman in the world. So there was a lot more things, you know, going through my mind to write about. And from like a stylistic point of view, I was listening to way more music, so I was influenced by different things and kind of broadened my horizons in that sense. So I think it sounds like, you know, almost like a level above the last record in terms of it's a bit more full sounding and a bit more challenging. But I think that's just because I'm an older writer and producer and my tastes have slightly changed and stuff. And there was definitely an element of wanting to like push myself as well, and to be like, this might not be what you like opening a record with a track like Through Water isn't like a classic thing to do, but it's like a statement that I wanted to make. So I guess it was like also taking more of like a leadership role in the whole thing, like being the creative director like of the project in that sense.
I think about the oil underneath my feet. Cars on the road to the tarmac beneath my feet.
You've written a woman from the perspective like to your older self, so to say. Could you explain that a little bit to me, how you've started writing that song? I don't know when you started and how that was for you.
Yes, that was the first song that I wrote for the record. So when I said that I took the time off and I walked into a music store and I bought the equipment, it was that week that I wrote Woman. And I didn't know, I was a bit too scared of writing directly about myself because it was like the first track and I was like, oh, not sure how to go straight back into, you know, me land. So I wrote from like a point of view of the future. Like I wasn't that happy at that point, but I knew that a future version of me would, because women just get through shit. Like I look at my mum and my auntie and everyone gets through these problems in life and they somehow end up in a good space. So I kind of had that kind of mentality when I was writing it. When I sing it now and it's my present, it's like, oh, so, you know, all it takes is a bit of time. Once I opened that door, like after Woman, I mean, it came in bursts, but like I ended up writing quite a lot of tracks. So like there's like 3 albums worth of material, but I guess like this is what I felt was the right narrative and the strongest songs. But I didn't hold back just because I didn't think a song was good enough. I just keep writing because it has more than like, it hasn't, like writing is very therapeutic. It's like writing a diary. It's just easy to get it out, like rather than it be on your mind. So yeah, it was pretty free flowing.
You've mentioned that you really appreciate, of course, the personal messages that you get and maybe some text of fans specifically. Was there maybe a reaction or something that felt like, oh yeah, this is what I wanted to make? Like,
yeah, I guess like I've had so many incredible messages and I try and go through a lot of them, like on Instagram, on private message, and also on posts about how, you know, certain songs have aligned with the way that people have been feeling. And they were like, oh, this is just what I needed. And I think it's such a treat because you forget that in the writing process. Mm-hmm. And it's like this second wave of communication when you put it out there. It's like reigniting that feeling when you first wrote it again, but like with multiple people around the world. And yeah, it's like, oh shit, yeah, that I felt like that too when I wrote it. Like the connection is there. Definitely with Woman and speaking of the end. Lots of people have been messaging me about like new starts and like And even like My Love Was Like the Rain, about like embracing like the shit side of you and the good side of you. And yeah, I mean, it's, you know, it makes you feel so privileged to be a musician.
There's a graph I read inside my head. Peaks and the furrows, direction of arrows, and your line is fading into air. Now I found a mountain, a solid incline, and he guides me up the rock face, feet in his footsteps, my hand in his palm. And remember when you said my love was like the rain, not the sweet sound after the drought, but the pain of it hard on your back in a storm.
Final question. Any maybe like plans or ambitions for this year or the upcoming months, if we finally, you know, get the chance to be outside to do the gigs and festivals? And I don't dare to speak about festivals at this point, but how are you feeling about that?
I mean, I hope that I'll be able to play by the end of the year, but at the same time, I hope more that, you know, people get well and and people like, so I've kind of got my head around, you know, not playing. I guess like I've been working with like a few different people on some like different projects. I guess it would be cool if I could, you know, release some music to do with that, or if any of the songs that I've written for other people have come out. But I guess just carrying on with stuff like this, the engagement, and yeah, just seeing how people respond to the album is giving me a lot.
So I embody these elements, I them like a fragrance.
I really enjoyed it. Thank you for zooming in.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Yeah, have a good day. Bye.